2 centuries after it was fought, there are still doubts as to who won the War of 1812. Canadians have seen it as a war of defense in which American invaders were successfully repelled. As for the Americans, historians have often viewed it as a naval war. They were trying to defend themselves from the British Navy, which had been boarding their vessels and kidnapping their sailors. The War of 1812 was sometimes referred to as the Second War of Independence. But as the former enemies became allies in the 20th century, the War of 1812 was regarded as a family quarrel that was best forgotten. Today, the question remains, who won? According to some historians, it depends on what the objectives were. If Britain's main goal was to prevent the United States from conquering British territory in North America, then Britain, and by extension Canada, could be said to have won. But the American objective was less about taking over Canada and more about asserting its independence as a country. The war actually started because of a much larger conflict taking place in Europe. Britain was at war against Napoleon. The United States was neutral, however, Britain wanted to stop the Americans from trading with the French. Britain used its naval force to board American trading vessels, confiscate goods, and impress sailors into the Royal Navy. The Americans responded by declaring war and attacking Britain's Canadian territory. They didn't get far on land, but the Americans scored some morale-boosting victories on the water. As the war was ending, American defenders led by Andrew Jackson repelled a British invasion at New Orleans. That victory became a great source of pride for the Americans. Since there was no more fighting, it felt like they had won. In reality, neither country lost or gained any territory as a result of the war, so while there was no clear winner, there is no argument about who lost. Historians on all sides agree that the indigenous peoples of North America suffered huge losses as a result of the war. In the United States, they were forced to give up their lands and settle on reservations. In British Canada, the war led to disunity and conflict between First Nations. The British no longer needed Aboriginal warriors as allies, thus their power diminished. So more than 200 years after it was fought, we know who lost the War of 1812, but we're still not sure who won.